Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant. Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast. You're invited to join my mission to embrace and share the innovations transforming the AEC, MEP, and manufacturing industries. My guests today are Eddie and Tyler Campbell, brothers and sixth-generation builders who love construction, architecture, engineering, technology, and the trades. They own a BIM business called ABSI based in Georgia with their dad. And they are also the host of the Construction Brothers Podcast, where each week they explore ideas and encourage people working in the construction industry by passing on helpful knowledge around projects and people. Welcome to the show, Eddie and Tyler.
I just got really nervous when you did that intro.
That was
I'm just saying.
That was very formal for us. Thank you.
Thank you
Welcome.
so much for having us.
Absolutely. How's it feel being on the other side of the podcast mic?
Oh, man.
It's a little uncomfortable,
It
actually.
is a little bit uncomfortable. I usually have power, and I have no power in this at all. So
That's right. I'm going to ask all of the deepest, darkest questions that you didn't want to be asked, Tyler.
yeah, I'm really getting nervous right now.
My goal is to make every guest cry. So it's not successful until we go to that dark personal place where you start crying. So.
Oh, it's fun. Tyler loves to cry.
Oh, perfect.
Jeez, man. I'm just kidding. No, I do cry often, but it's only because I work with Eddie. So.
Nice. So Eddie, I understand you came from the field. So what attracted you to the world of 3D modeling and BIM?
Oh, man. Not crawling around under houses anymore. So I worked as a rod buster, kind of like, remodeler, bathroom remodeler, general carpentry, that kind of thing. And, I had my truck, my trailer and everything, and rode around and did that for a few years. And, at the time I was going to school for, my master's, and, Dad and I got to talking one night, and, he said, maybe you do this. And, it was one of those moments where I was like, you really think so? And, so we gave it a try. The company was kind of a fledgling at that point. It was only about 18 months old. And so I came on, and, the rest is kind of in the history books. It's become something I loved. It's something that I, to a certain degree, fell into. But it is also something that I really enjoy because of just, it's very gratifying to watch things come together, to watch things come together and then see them in the field. And so being able to really exercise my brain and be a problem solver, that was the thing I loved doing in the field. I liked solving problems. BIM is a great opportunity to solve problems and to be a kind of a solutions person. So, the name of our company, Accelerated Building Solutions, or ABSI, was built around that. So that's kind of what cranked it up for me. And then, after that, staying, it just, I don't know, made sense. It felt like the thing I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Tyler, wonder if you can unpack the story of how you made your way into the family business.
Oh my gosh. It's again by force. Actually, no, it wasn't by force. So I don't know. I kind of hopped around from job to job there for a minute right after high school, and then came in as an apprentice and started apprenticing in the family business. And so that was back in 2012. And before that, just working on projects with Dad around the house, and even working as a carpenter's assistant there for a while when I was 14, which is very Ron Swanson of me, and I love that fact. I'm very proud of that.
I like that we got a Parks and Rec reference on the show, so well done.
Absolutely.
No, it's awesome. So I was working as a carpenter even when I was a teenager, and that's still something that I really love to do. I came into the company 2012, started modeling and learning from Eddie and Dad on the job. And then kind of from there, just branched out and started exploring design. I love marketing and design and user experience and, just all sorts of things surrounding that. I really kind of started loving logo design a lot. So Aaron Draplin, I don't know if you've heard of him, but I love his work a lot. So he was a big inspiration for what I like to do just kind of as a hobby on the side. But I was able to integrate a lot of that stuff in what we do with our podcast, and just kind of an outlet for my creative juices, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's probably pertinent to note, Dad was a contractor.
Yeah.
So like 25 years plus, he was in commercial general contracting, serving as anything from a field guy himself, superintendent, project manager, senior PM, VP. Like he kind of came all the way up through that. Mm-hmm. And so, and owned his own company. We grew up in that. Like we grew up in that under our dad. So we were like, you know, like you said, 6th generation builders. I mean, that goes back to Pop, who, you know, dad's dad, civil engineer, project manager, senior project executive at Messer Construction. You know, his dad, who's a carpenter, his dad, who was a carpenter. It just, I don't know. It was almost like by edict. I guess it's just in the blood.
It is in the blood. Yep.
And we do have a lot. I mean, we've got cousins, uncles in the same business. So kind of runs rampant in the Campbell family, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to spend the majority of the time kind of picking your brain about BIM. But first, let's define it because it means something a little different to pretty much everybody that you talk to. So how do you guys define BIM?
BIM, I mean, in its strictest sense, I mean, building information modeling is where you're going to go. You could go to BDC and do virtual design and construction. But I mean, honest, Tyler, our opinions on that are what?
We don't like BIM and we don't like VDC. We don't like those terms because they sound like a bowel movement and a venereal disease.
That's
I
fair
don't
enough.
know what it is.
We're honest, but it does. It just does. And
When I started, there was no BIM. It was not BIM. And then they started talking about BIM all the time. I'm like, what is this? And why did it have to be that acronym? Why?
Yeah.
And now we're on with Ben Crosby over there at Yates. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, the head of their virtual design and construction department. Now it's VDC. And so
That's no better.
mean, yeah, I don't see that as any better. But I mean, defining it, I mean, this is putting together 3D models. We can put those together in different ways. They can be references to how things relate spatially. They can be references to what information something carries. They can be models that are used to actually push information into fabrication and production. And so BIM takes on all of these different roles, facets, and looks different depending on the software you're using, the hands you put it in the production activity and or design activity you're undertaking at the time. And so BIM is a very broad thing that we define by just saying, oh yeah, it's BIM. And I mean, generally speaking, people just mean 3D.
And we call it this often, it's just a tool. You know, like there are various tools to get the job done. It's just a tool.
So if you could snap your fingers and change the acronym, what would you change it to?
I wouldn't do an acronym. Acronyms are overworked.
Yeah, it says the guys that own ABSO.
Right?
Hilarious. Yeah.
You started calling Construction Brothers Podcast CBP, and I threw up in my mouth a little bit, man.
No, I'm sorry. That's true.
I think I would just go 3D modeling. I mean, honestly, it's 3D modeling, but 3D modeling takes place in like the auto industry. 3D modeling takes place in a lot of different industry. I can make a 3D model of Lego. There are softwares out there to do 3D modeling for Lego.
Yeah.
So why BIM is what we do in construction? I don't know. You know, I mean, I would just say 3D modeling. That is the process that we're involved in. And then if you want to make it more process driven, I get why people are doing the virtual design and construction because they're trying to bake in like the construction aspect, the design aspect, make it a little more descriptive than just like it's a building information model. But yeah, I don't know if I got a preference. I guess we're mad at acronyms.
What do you guys see as the biggest kind of benefit in leveraging BIM or 3D modeling?
Studying the job before it begins. You know, like being able to make a study out of the project. I mean, so often we plow into the night and we'll use like a 2D system or something like that. And we're not able to really spatially recognize what's going on there. And so, yeah, just that's what I would say.
Ooh, I'm going to counterpoint you.
Okay. Yeah, please.
I think you're wrong, Tyler.
Shut your hole.
Debate. I like it.
I feel like a lot of people go there. A lot of people go to like pre-con right? So clash detection, design, let's be spatially aware of what's hitting what. But I like the information and the things that come out of the back end on like fabrication equipment and production. And like, I love to hear a process that has gone cradle to grave, right? So, I mean, that's anything from yes, design, yes, spatially orienting things together, but I mean, like all the way through to where you've got a facilities manager that can actually use this stuff, that you've got people really truly producing on that LOD 450 level where the model is actually what things are being fabricated from. And so it has become a true virtual prototype. And maybe that's what we're really after, is virtual prototyping. We're trying to actually make something I could build, like for real, that I could build. All I need is some process, some algorithm, some software to translate between that 3D model and the information it contains to the production equipment so that that virtual thing can become reality. And some industries are doing that better than others, but that to me, that is the power of BIM, and that is where the thing's going.
Yeah, and I think the construction industry as a whole seems to be getting closer and closer to that, where it's you're taking the model and you're having those direct links straight into the field. It's going to take some time to fully develop and implement across, but it seems like they're starting to get a lot of tools in place that's more possible.
The tools are in place. It's deplorable how long it's taken. I mean, having done this, 15 years is not a long,
how long you've been doing
15
this.
years is not a long time. I'm not going to beat my chest and do the job site trailer thing that we have.
Yeah.
It's not a long time. And so that my point is not, oh, I've been doing this for 15 years. Now, my point is, like, 15 years, it's not a long time, but when you think about technology adoption, think about where phones were at 15 years ago and where they're at now.
I remember your old rugged Casio flip phone.
Right? Think about where phone plans were at 15 years ago and where they're at now. So I wish it was moving faster. I really do. I wish it had moved faster. I think it had the ability to move faster. But yeah, we're in a period of adoption right now, and technology is definitely there to support it.
What do you think some of the reasons for the slow adoption have been?
Competence. I love that point. Is that everybody is competent right now at their jobs. And they're scared that if they go out and adopt some other app or something else, they're going to become incompetent for a while. And they can't afford to do that. I think that's the main reason for the fear. I don't even really think that it's because people don't want to learn. You know, I think they do, but I don't know.
There's definitely some fear in there. I'd agree with that. I mean, we're an obstinate, stubborn industry too, and so maybe that plays into it some. I don't know what makes construction. I mean, we've got a reputation for being kind of just slow moving and backwards in a lot of ways, and so that's a shame because there are brilliant people in construction. When you look at the GDP and how much of that GDP is actually comprised of construction activity, there is a lot of money in construction that should drive efficiency, but we're one of the most inefficient industries as well. So, I mean, I don't know what it is that stymies the development and stymies the growth, but it's a very broad industry too, because construction activity goes all the way from the home builder that's sitting on his tailgate and doing his invoices all the way up to companies that are making billions upon billions a year. And there's a big gap there. So, you know, what facets of construction are adopting this, who's actually pushing forward. There are people that are pushing this forward that are probably way further down the road than we know of, because that process is something that gives them a competitive advantage and they're not telling everybody about it. So
I'm curious too, and just kind of going back to what you said about the construction industry being notorious for being slow and, like slow to adopt technology and, always over budget, always late. Is that a newer thing? Like, has construction always been known as the industry that is slow to adopt technology, slow to, get stuff to site, all of that? Or is this a newer thing?
my history buff self just kind of like the lights and bells just started going on and ringing everywhere.
Well,
I want to go do a study now. I'm like, oh, I'm going back to the Industrial Revolution.
The pyramids. I mean, good grief.
Well, yeah, building and construction been around forever. I mean, since somebody built a thing to live in,
Mm-hmm.
it has been something that we've engaged in as an activity. But, I mean, as things have become industrialized, mechanized, and we actually judge them on efficiency.
Right.
We measure things and we try to economize them, and we go through and do process engineering on them. I mean, turn of the last century, that really starts picking up. I mean, Industrial Revolution stuff before that.
Right.
It'd be an interesting study, but I don't know how far back you'd have to go to where everything kind of evened back out. And, maybe that mechanization of manufacturing.
Yeah, that perception is no longer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very philosophical stuff. So yeah.
I tend to do that sometimes.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, you're very deep and
I'm
philosophical.
very deep.
I've noticed that about you. Hence the crying.
That's right. We're getting to it now. I like it. The tears are coming.
Whatever, Tyler.
So is there a certain size job that it needs to be in order for it to really start making sense to start modeling?
$300. To take one from Benjamin Crosby. It's, I don't think that there's any job too small. You will find benefits out of just modeling something as simple as a dining room table. And I know we've talked about this before with, on our show is, I modeled our conference table before we built it. And I didn't really need to do that, but it helped me better understand what was going on. It helped me make really solid design decisions. And, Eddie, you designed your shed in Tekla, hilariously enough. And,
Well,
we had an advanced bill of material for your shed.
Yeah, I mean, I knew exactly what I had to cut everything to.
Yeah.
I even I made rafter drawings to make that process easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and the conference table in here had, our conference table has a little bit of steel on the bottom that we had to weld together, bolt together, and like kind of this cool design that Tyler just came up with. And then the top was this. Yeah, I complimented you.
I didn't just come up with it, but I was going to correct you and make sure
Hey,
you
take the compliment and
information.
take it as a win. Come on.
Yeah, just go, man.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's this cool thing that Tyler found on Pinterest. And
Thank you.
then we've got the top that's made out of like wood that, I mean, this sounds so cheesy. It's wood that was sawn off of our father's land.
It's harvested.
Harvested off of our father's land. He had these black walnut trees, and he got a mill out there, and he made this, he got the boards cut, and we went to local carpenter, Finnish carpenter that we know, and Guy Barrick, he put the top together, and then we went to a welder, and he put the legs together, and everything fit.
I detailed it out, I made drawings, and I gave it to people to build. It was detailed during the design process.
And they knew what to do.
And they knew what to do. And it's kind of funny because we do it differently in the industry. We start with architecture, and then we hand it over to the structural engineer. And then, maybe at some point a general contractor gets involved. Who knows? And then the general contractor goes out to its glass guy, and it hands them the architecture and the engineering drawings. And then the glass guy creates his drawings, and then they hand it over to the steel guy, which is where we would get involved. Like we'll get, we'll create a whole new model for this. So we're creating model after model after model after drawing after drawing after drawing. at some point, why can't we just look at the simple practice of putting together a dining room table or a conference table and say, huh, that makes too much sense. Why don't we do it that way? And I think that's one of the things that he and I have been pushing for so long, and our dad too. And maybe it's because dad brainwashed us at a pretty young age. But, you know, again, BIM is that tool. Use that tool to influence your decisions and start detailing this stuff out. Start understanding your project down to the nut. And we see so often that people will pass the buck. And it's a lack of understanding of how things go together. And that's okay. And I'm not going to, you know, say you should know how everything goes together. Like, of course, none of us can. But at least try to gain a better understanding. Ask. Don't be arrogant about it. And I think there's a sense of arrogance that, like you'd said, like when we were talking about that history of, you know, when did we become known for this? You know, it's, I don't know. That's the way I look at everything, you know.
There's a lot going on in that whole chain of events that you just listed. I mean, to get from architect to engineer to general contractor to sub. And so trying to maybe define that point or rehearse it again is, we just believe that the process could be more collaborative. Yeah. Like I get that there are certain points in the design process that we have to stay more big picture. It's not time to design everything down to the nut and washer. There are times that we need to understand that we're not there yet. You know, I'm not looking at, you know, a design development set of drawings that I have, or, you know, some sort of schematic design, something that I'm handing to an owner to just get general buy-off on and saying, well, that should be, you know, I should be able to know how to cut every 2x4 at that point. Until we get to automated design, we're not going to be there.
Yeah, we won't.
Generative design could carry us there at some point. But I mean, as long as we're having to do that ourselves, as long as people are involved in that, that's not going to be a possibility. But I also think that as the process goes, the process could be much more collaborative, and we could focus in more on the details. We could get much more detailed in the designs, and then we could reap the benefits of this from the standpoint of efficiency and lessening waste and actually making a real field impact with what we're doing in a model.
So I'm curious on, with all the current disruption with the pandemic going on, where do you see BIM departments moving in the future?
You're going to kick that one over to me?
I'll kick that one over to you, man. Have fun.
Where do I?
Yeah, big brother.
I have no idea. I'm not gonna profess to be some prophet here. I do not know. I mean, I hope that things are going to get more collaborative. I hope that the industry continues to unsilo its information so that we can share it better. I hope that we will see less and less redundancy when it comes to the process of the designers, the process of the general contractor, the process of the subs, that those won't be isolated processes, but that those will be integrated processes and processes that are collaborative in their nature. But, you know, will we go there? I think we understand that we probably need to, but a lot of what we see is still kind of like, hey, I'm a BIM coordinator, and my job is to make sure that you got your model. Did you load your model in BIM 360? Did you load your model in BIM? Like, that is my job as a coordinator, is to go chase everybody around and say, did you load your model? Did you load your model? And then, yeah. Well, we got asked today, do you need Dustin, so as a general contractor, do you need them to class check this for you? I'm like, no, I don't need them to class check it for me. I'm completely competent to class check it. I don't even charge for the class checking. Goodness gracious. I just need you to provide all the information to me so that I can get to it. That's the only thing. And I don't even need somebody to police that. I just need a good process and a good platform in place. So I hope we start using our platforms better to unsilo information, to integrate and share out better, and then we start working in a more integrated fashion as an industry. Whether we'll get there or not, I don't know. I mean, I would have thought we'd be farther down this road than we are. But I've also got to say I'm encouraged by a recent acceleration in technology adoption in the industry. And we've even talked about it a few times as a renaissance in construction technology that right now, even down to investment. I mean, people seeing that this is a worthy investment of their money and funding venture capital so that companies can take a crack at this thing.
I really think with all the innovation going on in construction is really the industry to be at. There's so much cool things happening and new technologies coming in all the time that to me, it's really exciting to just kind of sit back and watch it. We just have to
it is a lot of
break
fun
down
to watch it develop.
Those walls.
Yeah, we need to keep grinding. It's going to come. We're going to get there. I'm not ticked about it. I'm not like, I haven't lost heart. I'm not going to go run into something else. I just want to keep driving. Like, I want to keep challenging. I want to keep growing. I want to keep learning. I want to share the ideas. And I wish we would all sing, we're kind of singing Kumbaya here, but I mean, I think we all could get a little less combative and competitive, work together a little better. And then, the sharing of ideas instead of constantly and consistently seeing every shared idea as giving somebody a competitive advantage. Why don't we just go ahead and figure out, they're going to figure it out. And they're probably days, months, maybe a year away from figuring it out or just reading it somewhere else because they went to the great Google.
Or they tried it out last year and found a reason why it doesn't work.
Right, but if we're each making breakthroughs and then sharing how we made those breakthroughs, then it doesn't get just like stuck in the back file and abandoned forever. Right. We improve on the idea, try it again, and then make it work. So maybe the idea was great, but the technique of how we carried it out was not so great. Well, maybe the next person will build on that technique and carry it out in a better fashion. Maybe if we shared that technique, we could eliminate a lot of waste across the industry. That wouldn't be a bad thing. But if I'm just seeing as that is my competitive advantage and I'd never want to tell anybody about that, well, I'm slowing growth down. And I shouldn't want to do that. I want to be more of a helper to the industry than that.
So what do you see as some things and kind of routines that BIM departments should be putting in place now to set themselves up for success and to bring down those walls?
Get people out in the field more. I think you can set yourself up for success by teaching your people more and more about building and how components go together. We'll use us as an example because we work in steel a lot. We need to try to branch out of just steel. Like, let's start looking at light gauge. How does light gauge framing work? How do we hang drywall? How does, pouring concrete work? There's so many facets in our industry. And so if you have a BIM department or if you're in charge of a BIM department, just focus on getting your people and out into the field and with their hands on the thing that they're trying to model. Make it reality. And it's really cool to see that light come on when people see too what they've modeled in the shop. I remember Tony, one of the guys that used to work with us, we took him down to a fabricator and he got to see some of the steel that he had modeled. And he walked in and he was like taking pictures. He's sending them to his family. He's like, check this out. This is cool. I get to do this. And you get lost behind the screen sometimes, right? If you're constantly clicking it, you don't think like, hey, that's a 40,000 pound member. Like, that's huge. That is massive. Have them understand the scale, and they can take some pride with that. I think we're losing some of our pride in what we're producing. So try to get that pride back to the people.
Yeah, be a craftsman. Be a builder. Be a builder.
Be a builder.
Processes and things that that BIM departments or people in the industry could practice. I don't know that I've got a pat answer for. I think we need to do X, Y, Z in order to make a solid BIM process. That's a very wide and far-reaching question for just the different use cases out there. But what I do think is that as people engage BIM as a tool, and as people start to just really use that tool and leverage that tool for actually getting something out on site, leaning back on that builder mentality, then things will begin to change. So I'm not a paper shuffler. I'm not what our dad always lovingly called a project pilot. I get, and that's the back in the paper days, but I get a pile of paper on my desk, and my job is to take that pile on my desk and transfer it to your desk. Project pilot. That's not our job. We're not just supposed to move the information from your desk to my desk and my desk to his desk and his desk to her desk. That's not what we're about. We're actually trying to build a building, and keeping our mind on that is key. Another key is I don't think it's a good idea to just take all of our cues from one source of information. And I want to say that, one of the major sources of information out there is software companies.
Yeah.
Big time. So, for good and bad, software companies are trying to educate people to what their tools can do. But softwares are also meant to be sold. And so we need to be able to discern the sales pitches from the real information. And we also, rather than becoming a loyalist to one tool, we need to use the best tool. And I think for those BIM departments out there that have become dyed-in-the-wool, whatever users, I think that you need to make sure that you stay open to using the best tool for the job at the time, given your needs. Because, that desk we were encouraging you to model might not require a, $30,000 software seat to do that sufficiently.
It helps.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Right. Sure. If it's geared toward that.
Yeah. Well, if you know how to make it work. So, what the tools of the trade should match the things we're trying to do with them. Mm-hmm.
So let's shift to your podcast for a second. The Construction Brothers Podcast. Why'd you decide to start the show?
Well, we have a tendency to talk about ideas all the time. And so we decided to turn on a microphone and record it so we could go back and reference it. And then it kind of expanded into, hey, maybe we could talk to some interesting people as well. And kind of going back to what Eddie said a minute ago is that we need to start spreading our ideas around. And that's our hope. We want to collect ideas into this bin and just give them to people and let them consume that information and do what they want to with it. Feedback, tell us what you think, that sort of thing. So we wanted to try to create this community and try to reinstill some pride and some craftsmanship into what we're doing. It doesn't matter what part of the industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're a welder. It doesn't matter if you're a BIM person, architect, engineer, somebody that operates a screed, is pulling a screed out on the job site. Doesn't matter. We want to try to find something there that you can take away and learn from. So, and find some community.
Yeah. Ideas and encouragement.
Ideas and encouragement.
And then, yes, as an aside, there was definitely a desire for me. I mean, I don't know how many people I'd written down, like an executive with a company or a person I thought was interesting or somebody I encountered on LinkedIn or whatever, that I would write down and just say, try to get an hour call with them and see if you can. I mean, basically, I just wanted to like pump them for information. Like, what do you know? What do you know? Like, I want to hear your ideas. It's not because I want to steal your ideas or like that I'm going to be able to implement them all, but I just want to learn. I want to learn. And it's amazing how many more people will agree to that hour conversation when you say you're going to be on a podcast instead of just, I need an hour of your life. I need an hour of your life with no benefit to you.
I will post you on social media and I will make you kind of famous.
Yeah, I will make you, well, let's be
there. Maybe 5 people.
So that was part of it too. I mean, just kind of a platform to have these, I don't know, cool talks and and learn. Like, we figured nothing lost. Like, if nobody even listened, but we could sucker some people into talking to us on the show, it would work out pretty good for us. But I mean, as it turns out, other people actually want to have these conversations and listen to, and so that I think is the audience out there, whoever we have that listens regular, semi-regular, they're curious people too, and I hope they're getting some good ideas out of it. We've just encountered some really cool people, so I mean, if they're at all like us, I think that they are, because the people we've had on have been great people and have given us a lot to go on. We talk about them nonstop, and we talk about their ideas nonstop. Like, it's just a bunch of new friends that we have gotten. I mean, like, that's the cool part.
We're on a first name basis with all of them now in our heads.
In our mind.
In our mind.
They're friends in our mind.
I'll say Brent, and
That's
you
right.
know who I'm talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's just so awesome to be able to have that kind of, that fodder, just to go back to the well and say, yeah, well, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that.
Yeah,
just
you
piece
remember
it all together.
You remember when Benjamin said this? You remember Camone said that?
Yeah.
You remember when, I mean, Clifton, we're just all these people that we've talked to that they're amazing people. And
we were stringing together a business idea too off of a couple of them. We're like, what if we connected this one with this one and this one, and we would have the best company ever.
Yeah.
And like, of course that's not going to happen. We don't have millions of dollars. It's not going to happen. But
I feel like those
fun.
connection
It's
points.
thought-provoking.
Yeah, those connection points are kind of the fun point of podcasting.
Anybody listening with millions of dollars, we've got a great idea.
Such a great idea. Actually, no, it's going to be like maybe 50 million. So if you got $50 million
That's probably it.
and you let me have it, I can make you some money.
there is an amount of money to be made.
There is.
We think.
So all of our listeners, you heard it.
Yeah.
You'll
Is that
get
insider trading? I don't think that's insider trading. We should be all right.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from one of your guests so far that has applied directly to your day job?
Dang, bro, that's hard. That's a tough one. I've learned a lot from a lot of people.
Keep filling the air.
No, Brian, I've got a lot. So
Yeah.
what's something is like one thing, because I almost feel like I'm going to slight one of our guests by not mentioning them. I mean, like Clifton Harness opened our eyes to generative design, which is like this really cool thing that made me want to really strive forward in our tool development in our company. But then Brent Darnell challenged us on an interpersonal level to work with people, and
Practice
that
our
challenge,
soft skills.
Yeah, that challenged me on my soft skills. And Brian Kaplan last week challenged me on how I sell, and that just like really rejuvenated me for how am I going to actually sell what we do in a way that's relational and genuine.
Yeah.
Kimona Numa challenged us to look at databasing and information collection and breaking silos. Breaking Bad is the lecture he's given. And oh my gosh, that was a kind of a mind blower. So
yeah. For me, it was Eric Reinhold.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Because I mean, he's that extra like creative spirit, and that was just kind of that was one of those gets for the show that I was like, holy cow, we get to talk to this guy. This is awesome. Like, the dude's got 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like, that's no small task. Holy cow. And but just hearing him talk about creativity, and hearing him talking about like curating and working with people to build these amazing, like, just beautiful houses. And just the process that he goes through, you know, I took a lot from that, just from a creative standpoint. Lord, there's so many others.
He had a segment on collaboration too, where we watched a video of this guy, and you know, he's a residential architect, high-end architect, and he's like sitting across the table with this engineer, and they're working together, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the way it's supposed to be done. Look at those two. They're just exchanging information seamlessly and just talking. They're not arguing. They're talking, and there's this give and take. And I'm like,
they respect each other.
Oh man. Yeah.
There's a respect between them. And,
so
yeah.
What about, so Mike Koenig came on here, and Mike was like, okay, prefab backyard offices, studio sheds.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, that's cool. And then he teaches us all about business. Like, all about this business he's grown and built. And I'm just sitting here as a business owner. I'm sitting here just taking notes. Like, oh my gosh, this is such good stuff. This guy built a business and obviously knows what he's doing.
And the funny thing is too, is it wasn't even about the building at that point. It was building relationships.
Yeah.
That's what that episode was about.
That has been a common thread, is the building of relationships, and doing so out of a genuine heart. So that's, man.
So yeah, that's the one thing.
The one thing.
Nice.
I could go down literally every episode and be like, and this guy said this, and that guy said this. I mean, just every time we get on one of these conversations, somebody points something cool out that we haven't learned. And there's just this, even if it's not directly applicable, usually we're like, oh, wait, you know, in our business, we could do this and kind of tweak it here and then plug it in. So if we're thinking about UX design, like, how can I UX my business? If we're thinking about, I mean, we had Justin Batt on, and Justin Batt talked about being more intentional with your kids. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm going off now. It has been one. I was going off. It's been one really awesome person after another.
Yeah.
So
we've been blessed with being able to talk to a lot of cool people, and I just think that's the cool part of having a podcast. And I'm sure you've experienced this too, Todd, where you get to talk to cool person after cool person, and we're the coolest by far that you've talked to. I know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
you
we're
know.
not.
Shut up, man.
We're not.
But no,
Coolest people I'm talking to right now.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yes.
Yeah. We're the best right now.
Right in this moment.
Yes. But
So-
no, it's awesome, man.
I'm going to flip this script on you a little bit. You guys always ask your guests the question at the end of your podcast, and I want to hear your answer. If you had 60 seconds and you had a megaphone, the whole construction industry could hear you, what would you say to them?
Go to brospodcast.com.
Self-promotion.
Yeah. We've had a couple people do that to us. We're like, oh, come on, bro.
Don't do that.
That's not what we meant.
That's awesome.
So I wouldn't say that, because we hate that answer. I would say be a genuine person. In so many ways, we try to work each other in this industry. And so we're scared to death of somebody else getting our thing. And it creates walls. And it makes us crappy people. And so I like going home and laying my head down at night, knowing that I've done right. Like, I've just got this deep conviction in my soul that I need to do unto others as I would have done unto me. And I want that. And great businesses have been built on that. I mean, Ritz-Carlton was built on that. And I mean, that's just that golden rule. Just be a genuinely good person to the people that you're around. That will make you a better business owner, a better leader. That will make you a more empathetic person. That will make you a better, like, shepherd. Something Mike Koenig really hit hard.
Yeah.
That would be it. Like, be genuine and follow the golden rule.
Mm-hmm. Good one.
You're up.
Top
on
that.
it, man. No, I don't want to top that because I, we share that same thought, and that's the reason that we started this, is that we wanted to encourage people, and we wanted to encourage people to treat each other with some respect and take pride in what they're doing and be craftsmen. Let's just get back to being builders. Like, I don't care if you're BIM or architect or engineer, just be a builder, man, and ask questions and learn, and encourage the people around you, and try your best to respect the people around you, and don't work people. I love that point. Do not work people. Just make a friend.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. Yeah. Both spot on. So how do people get a hold of you for more information or to check out your podcast?
Well, you can find us at www.brospodcast.com, or you can search on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, or Google Podcasts for Construction Brothers or Construction Bros. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Construction Brothers, Construction Bros Podcast, or Construct Bros on Twitter, actually. So, yeah, that's where you can find us.
It's like you've done that before.
It's like I've done it before.
1 or 2 times, huh?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Nice. Well, Tyler and Eddie, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you to those listening. If you want to find out any more, you can visit our sponsor, Applied Software, at ASTI.com for more information. You can listen to this podcast anytime by simply going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our website, bridgingthegappod.com. Until next time, I'm Todd Wyant, thanking you for joining us on the Bridging the Gap podcast. Keep innovating.